These are very important markets. Gurgaon often ranks in the top three most valuable cities within our network. So how you're performing and how we're performing in these markets has been key to how the overall group delivers. So this week, India has shifted from complete lockdown into a stepped gradual reopening. How does it feel, Rajat? What are the differences that you're experiencing?
It's been a challenging phase. You're aware that India was one of the first few countries where the lockdown has been extremely stringent. Given our population, I think that was the need of the hour. But what worked or is working in terms of a business was that the high retention for my markets came to the fullest advantage to the business. We started virtually doing inspections, showcasing tours, centers to our clients. So that's now beginning to start taking some shape. Earlier, there was just a pause moment across all cities. But what the operations team did very, very beautifully, if I may say so, they kept engaging with clients. Webinar was one part of it. So there was a weekly webinar happening with guests, visitors, hosts who are coming and talking about anything from COVID-19 to the business, to the retention, to how to protect their business. There were psychological concerns coming in from a lot of people and clients about the fact that, how will the work from home impact business? So that was being addressed by guest lecturers that were coming. So that was the webinar part of the business. The other aspect was that every operation manager during the lockdown was designated one account. We picked up the phone and called clients, asking them how they're doing. So that was the humane touch.
Right.
If anyone can help you with any kind of precaution that what we are doing at the executive center, can we help you with that? Anything would you like to talk about? Any concerns that you may have? So I think that kind of connected with our clients over the last lockdown, which was very, very strict and stringent.
What were the reactions from the members? Was it concern or was it stress? Did people ask for business support? What was the feedback?
It kept evolving. The first couple of weeks was everybody was afraid. They didn't know how to react to this invisible enemy. Then when they started getting comfortable, then they started talking about the business and the repercussions that the business are having. Then there were conversations about rent rebate that started coming in. And then there was conversation about the fact that when are you opening and what are you doing about COVID-19 when we ever come back to the center.
The client base that you have in India is almost 100% multinational. But when the pandemic went global, and in many parts of Asia, the situation was actually beginning to improve. Because the situation was worsening in North America and Europe, we had their reactions being imposed back onto their businesses here in Asia. How have your multinationals reacted? Are they being, India is allowing people to come back to the offices. Are your clients choosing to come back to the offices, or are they under a more global SOP which asks them to continue to work from home for the time being?
So I'll respond to your question in two parts. The first part is that, yes, we've got multinational companies in India. As soon as you rightly said, the pandemic went into the US, European markets, the impact started coming here. We started feeling the tremors because there was global decisions to be taken. Clients wanted to understand what's the productivity, what are the social distancing norms. Would they want their clients to come back, the colleagues to come back or not? A classic example I'll give you is of Twitter, who very recently said that we will allow our team members to work from home forever.
Yeah.
So, and as the executive said, I was having a heart attack when I was reading that, because Twitter happens to be a backbone client of ours and good of over 100 workstations. But the fact that the relationship that we have over the years, a work from home will never stay permanently. It will always be a passing phase. There's a reason for clients or people like you and me to work out of home temporarily. It's never going to be a permanent solution.
I think the sustainability of our business, we're in our 26th year, is a fundamental differentiator. There are other, but very few other flexible office space operators in our industry that have a similar long-term history, and those I think will stand out and continue to stand out over time. Our landlords need money as well. They're servicing debt. The banks that have lent them need the mortgages to be serviced. If we stop paying rent, then the domino effect is very, very negative. And ultimately, all along the chain, people will lose their jobs because revenues drop, et cetera, et cetera. A crisis is not an opportunity to not honor one's contracts and obligations. A crisis is an opportunity to react. And the way we've been reacting is by embracing our clients, by welcoming new arrivals from other operators, and even with our landlords, communicating with them to ensure that they know that we have a good business. You have your two markets, Gurgaon, which is the tech center of India, and then Delhi, which is the capital of India with all of the supporting businesses. Have you seen any difference in between these two sub-markets?
I think Delhi, because it's more of a financial institution and consulting and companies that work very close with the government bodies, they've embraced it a little better. The Delhi centers went live in terms of back to operations about almost 5 weeks back, and there were one or two clients trickling in. However, Gurgaon, as you mentioned, is the tech capital for us in northern India. The chunk of the business, or the average client has anything between 40, 50, 80, 100 seats. Now, clients there are becoming a little cognizant of the fact that social distancing norms need to be met. So, for example, a Gartner says, we will not come in until July, but we want to know what social distancing norms TC is incorporating. A Salesforce said that, we'd like to retain our space, but I don't think we'll come to work until October. So there is a mind shift in terms of coming back to office, and with no circumstances or regard are these global clients wanting a rent rebate in terms of just because they're not coming to office, because they understand that they need an office that's a part of the infrastructure. Right. But work from home has become more of a corporate decision as a safety model rather than a business decision. We are trending with some entrepreneurial clients where it's their own business, some startups which are funded. They are the ones who we are in discussion with in terms of a downsize.
Working with our clients, whether they're large or small, to restructure their needs, even though it's out of cycle, out of contract, is the best way for us to partner with them, allow them to transition, and then in the future, I think they'll appreciate it. If these type of companies can make it through the downturn, they'll remember TC's contribution to their sustainability, and they'll regrow with us. And I think that's the right thing. In other markets, Rajat, we've been seeing corporates and companies that have permanent space with landlords turning their back on those leases and saying, too much uncertainty, we want to come to a flexible solution. Have you had any indication of such a shift in India in your two key markets?
So, Paul, we always had that, right? Because you remember that the kind of competition we have, especially in Gurgaon. If you're asking me, I've seen a spike in demand in my markets. No, I haven't seen a spike. What I have seen is the fact that the inquiries for the executive center has changed. The nature has changed, because earlier it would be just price, let us know what it is. Now the key question is, we know that executive center is low in density. Can you give us a solution now? Because your competition around you is always high on density. So I think that's working in our favor. The market perception currently is that the executive center is already COVID-19 compliant.
Right.
So I think that is key. So I haven't seen a spike in demand in terms of larger spaces, but I've seen a spike in terms of inquiries. Oh, what is your desk size? Okay, maybe you're better because you give more space, you give 100 square feet per workstation. So those qualitative conversations have started post COVID-19 in terms of the business.
What's your profile for the rest of the year? Have you had expansion centers that have been delayed? And how has that played out?
So we've got one center that would be coming in by Jan in downtown, which will be about almost 550 workstations. Assuming that the lockdown came in full force, I think it'll be delayed probably another quarter or so. But the fact that clients would still want that location, and as time passes by, the conventional preference versus TEC space solutions will start showing its visibility. And I think that's when I see the inquiries coming in. So maybe the delay is going to work better for us because that's when clients would be like, okay, now's the time not to put in your capex. That's for Delhi, Gurgaon. I see exactly the reverse in Dubai. You're aware we closed a very prominent deal in Dubai where the client wanted to come into a serviced office model versus go into the conventional space because they didn't want to spend money in terms of capex costs. So Dubai currently, I am seeing a spike in inquiries, which was always a 4 workstation average size, has become 10, 14, 20, 16 workstations, which did not exist in the market because the economy was slightly sluggish. However, with the economy coming back to track, and Dubai being the only country in our region where they have already advanced their social distancing norms and they are back to work with going on 14 June, they're going back to work with 100% workforce. So Dubai is expedited within our region, South Asia, expedited the need for getting back to business.
Dubai is one of our newer markets. We've been operating there for about 2 years. The business has, you've done a very good job of building our business there. And how are you seeing the demand playing out? Would it be an opportunity for growth in that market? And how are we positioned versus the broader economy there? Because, of course, we also have a situation where quite turbulently oil prices have repriced primarily downwards. Intuitively, I would have thought that would have been a negative impact on Dubai. How has it played out?
Actually, we were at our best performance during the lockdown in Dubai. We closed the 35 workstation in Dubai, so that in India is like almost 80, 90 workstations equivalent. So Dubai had its own share of turbulence. The oil prices were not helping and still not helping. But the market is now evolving because of the government support given in terms of a stimulus. So the government, unlike other governments, are very, very quick to react and they would like to sustain their economy. So 2 billion dirhams have been already injected in the economy and there are talks about more stimulus coming in, which support the local business support system and the landlords and clients and tenants. Now, if these landlords get this advantage, then we are working with our landlords to give us pass on some benefit so that for us then our sustainability gets a little better. In terms of the growth trajectory, of course, the COVID-19 hit our markets there. So our expansions were delayed. We were supposed to go live in June. We kind of managed that with our landlords till the end of the year. So they've been very supportive in that. So they've extended that. And the whole idea is to now jump on these larger inquiries, keep your existing center full and start talking expansion to these clients who are not interested to spend capex cost and look into warm shell right now. So that's the trends we are seeing there. And we are hoping that if these trends are coming in right now, they'll start shaping up by the end of the year. So I'm hoping 21 will be all about slightly larger deals than the average 4 workstation that we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Right. Well, that the shift by companies to a flexible, credible, flexible solution is the same trend we saw after the global financial crisis in 2009 and 10. And that played out for several years. So when these companies shift into a flexible structure, they don't then go back to permanent space the next year. It really is a 3, 4, 5 year shift. And it's something that we as a business are totally prepared to address. So as you meet that client demand, we will support you with further expansion and further expansion funding. You're managing 3 major markets for the executive center, and you've been doing it from home. I suppose that this is the first time that you've worked from home for a prolonged period of time, for many years, if perhaps first time ever. How was that experience? Because the work-life balance of being a boss of a big business and then being dad at home can be quite jarring. Was it a positive experience for you?
It was good while it lasted. I was really looking forward to come back to work, office, clients, members, colleagues, and have that energy and that collaborative way of working. I think that was missing. I think I missed that. There's just so much of webinar you can do, and then there's so much of calls you can do. I think that energy level was missing, and I'm hoping that now with the collaborative energy, we're all set to make this year a success, no matter what the odds are.
Well, listen, thank you, Rajat. It's been a real pleasure catching up with you. I think your understanding and the background that you've given us on the markets in Gurgaon and Delhi with the corporate client base is very, very revealing. One thing I would say to you is that over the next few weeks into the end of June, beginning of July, you will see these corporates re-engaging. The attendance levels will go up, and then they'll be looking for additional space as they look to restructure and grow their operations. These are trends that we have seen in China, in Hong Kong, in Singapore. So other markets that have reopened earlier. It takes a while for the client base to re-engage, but they really do. And then the momentum really builds and builds and builds. So I think into the third quarter, you will have a active, busy time. And then in Dubai, it's very interesting to hear how the turmoil of the oil markets and the COVID pandemic has actually shaken it up in a positive way for us. And I think the fact that flexible office space will be something that people will be looking for, not only as a rep office, but now as their semi-permanent office for the next few years, is a silver lining for the executive center and something that we can then really build upon to build our business, not only in Dubai, but in the rest of the Gulf states and the Middle East, which is our intention.